Well, drivers across Florida will likely see some big changes on their car insurance. The legislature passing reforms that affect our rates and much more.
Our Fox 13 political editor, Craig Patrick, kind of crunched the numbers, and he sat down with the experts to show what the changes will likely mean for you and me.
Senator Darrell Rouson co-introduced changes to our car insurance system that he says will protect us and save us money.
It creates responsible roadways, and hopefully it will reduce rates.
Hopefully, though, is the operative word. The legislature's own analysis could not determine how the reforms will impact policyholders, health insurers, or injured drivers. It cites one study projecting average premiums would drop around 5%, and another showing average premiums would increase 5 to 50%, depending on the coverage you currently have. In short, this will likely cost some drivers more and save others, and in ways they may not expect. To see why, let's go back in time. In the 1970s, Presidents Ford and Carter wanted states across the nation to switch to a no-fault system, and Florida was one of a dozen states that did it and kept it.
It was intended for to unclog the courts.
Instead of suing over minor crashes, all Florida drivers had to buy no-fault insurance, also called personal injury protection, or PIP. It means if you're injured in a crash, it doesn't matter who's at fault. The no-fault insurance covers medical treatment and some lost wages up to $10,000. But then crooks staged accidents, and shady clinics overcharged to bilk this no-fault or PIP insurance. That drove up rates and finally drove the legislature to pass this bill to get rid of no-fault insurance.
When you get rid of fraud, then you can reduce rates.
The legislature voted to scrap the requirements to buy PIP and replace it with a requirement to buy injury liability coverage.
Mandatory liability coverage is protection to those people that you may injure because of your negligence.
This way, people who have more serious injuries don't get burned by medical bills as many currently do.
Oh, I've seen many clients that required surgery even after being injured in a car accident. And they have to pay for that surgery bill.
That's the part where the reforms could save people in ways they don't expect and when they need help the most. And if they already buy more coverage than what the legislation requires, their premiums, in theory, should also nudge down.
This law is going to reduce their premiums from, $30 to $60 because they will no longer have to purchase PIP.
But around 40% of insured drivers do not buy bodily injury coverage at levels required in this legislation, so their bills could soar.
If they comply with the law, they're going to see an increase in premium from $200 to $600.
Attorney Matt Noy said drivers who may see that kind of hike should put it in context.
I know a lot of people that would rather have to pay $350 more a year than tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills after being injured in a crash because somebody didn't have any liability coverage.
But unless or until it happens to them, many may not think in those terms. And Florida's chief financial officer, Jimmy Petrona, said that could give a lot of drivers sticker shock, particularly those with low incomes.
When you increase insurance rates on folks, it's of my experience that most folks won't stop paying their cable bill. They won't stop paying the utility bill.
But he said many will stop paying their car insurance bills. Around 25% of all Florida drivers already drive with no insurance. If that number goes up, so may rates for people who do buy insurance in the long run.
And it could have several years till you really see the full fallout of what the effects are.
Those who want to keep our no-fault system point to Colorado, which scrapped its no-fault system in 2003. Rates went down there at first, then years later shot up to among the highest in the nation. But was that because it scrapped no-fault or because the state legalized recreational marijuana in 2012? The lawmakers and industry experts say it's one or the other, or too hard to tell. Robert Hunter is the insurance director for the Consumer Federation of America.
Will the average driver in Florida see his or her rates go up or down?
My best guess is they would stay the same or maybe slightly reduce on average. Unfortunately, they'll go up for lower income people, I think.
By going up on lower income people, will that mean more will go bare and not have insurance?
Probably. You can't get blood out of a stone.
Hunter was one of the nation's leading advocates of no fault. Remember when we said Ford and Carter wanted to move the whole nation to it? Hunter was the federal insurance administrator who sold them on it.
I really was a believer.
But he said it became too susceptible to fraud. So in his view, the legislature made the right call to abandon this same system he spent much of his life promoting.
I still think no fault is more efficient and pays claims quicker The problem is the fraud. So I think I would have to say that you're better off moving away from no fault.
We'll likely see the short-term effects starting next year. Craig Patrick, Fox 13 News.
Now, the legislation has not yet been presented to the governor, and while he has expressed no opposition to it, also has not committed to signing it. Assuming the governor does sign it, the changes will kick in next year.